So today's our topic is ethical discipline and the ethical discipline and the compassion, cultivating compassion. What is connection between the ethical discipline and the generating or cultivating compassion? So first we can read the first paragraph here, and then it talks like all the essence of uh, the meaning of that relation between cultivating compassion and ethical discipline. So okay, so I think most of you see is right. Let me read one time. It's missing something. Say, I have suggested that developing the compassion on which happiness depends demand a what two two-pronged approach. On the one hand, we need to restrain those factors which inhibit compassion. On the other, we need to cultivate those which are conducive to it. As we have seen, what is the conducive is compassion is love, patience, tolerance, forgiveness, humility, and so on. What inhabits compassion is that lack of inner restraint, which we have identified as the source of all unethical conduct. We found that by transforming our habits and dispositions, we can begin to perfect our overall state of heart and the mind. Kunlong means motivation in Tibetan. That from which all our actions spread. The first thing, then, because the spiritual quality is conducive to compassion, entail positive ethical contact, is to cultivate a habit of inner discipline. Okay, it's quite explanatory. So, and then this is the always we are talking. Before you try to control your mind, you must try to control your physical actions, the body and vocals, right? So as much as you can control your physical actions, that much you will become more uh, capable or ability to control your mind. But while you're training or try to control your physique, but still is depend on motivation as well. You need a motivation that I can do this, I have to do this, or I can kill, I cannot lie, or I have to collect it virtue and I have to meditate, so on, so on. This kind of things, it's depend on motivation and thoughts, but more you are focusing on your behaviors or your contact, physical actions. So this is not here only the compassion. The any if I talk regarding Buddhism, any high level of practice, very beginning, the vows is always talks important. And those vows, the most vows are training us to control our the physical actions, right? So here, similar here, um, uh, that as much as you can self-discipline, how much you can the well self-discipline, that much you will become a more uh, capable for control your mind. So if you not doing self-discipline, it's very difficult to control your mind or training your mind. therefore, um, while cultivating compassion, you should or we must also have self-discipline, right? So if who does not have a self-discipline, it's like a wild animal, right? It's like a wild animal. And then the wild animal really not thinks well, right? So therefore, it's good to have self-discipline in our daily life, whether you generate compassion or not, right? Whether you cultivate compassion or not. This important. This is the one path to bringing peace and happy in our life, to con- controlling your physical actions or keeping the self-discipline, or special here cultivating compassion. We must have self-discipline because mentally we are try to cultivate that or transform our mind to very much positive, that thinking all sentient beings free from suffering, which is compassion, right? Mentally we try to our mind transform to the compassion, but in the physical actions, if you don't care that, then it's also harms a lot, right? So um, then you might have a question: what are the physical actions? That we will talk when we talked about that moral ethics, that the division of moral ethics. We will talk that, but just in general, keep in our mind, this is the most important part to have a self-discipline. Okay. So this is not the order. First have a self-discipline, and after that cultivate compassion. It's not order. We just do together, right? While we cultivating compassion, when you sit down in a cushion, you're more focused on the cultivating compassion, and when you go in a public or society, you more focus on your behaviors. So that combination, you can do two together, and always think that I can do this, I can do that, right? This is also part of compassion, that restrain your those negative actions are much better than I think again I can say you are voluntarily helping, right? So your voluntarily helping could be harms, never knows, but restrain your negative action will not harms. So that's just important, right? Okay, so we'll come back again to talks that why self-discipline is important in order to cultivating compassion. Um, the first, as we are need to talk, why we need it, why we need moral ethics, um, and self-discipline as well, right? So this I don't think that I have to explain a lot, because in this world today, what happening, the problem such as like a fighting, like a roving and stealing, or racism, or the terrorism, and then all this problem actually we think that comes from lack of moral ethics, right? So like I said, the fight, killing each other, it's a lack of moral ethics. If you know the killing is bad, killing is harms, and killing is not good for all of us. We shouldn't kill anyone. That's the self-discipline, right? If you have that kind of motivation and that kind of thought, we shouldn't kill it, I will never kill it. So that's self-discipline. So if you have a lack of self-discipline, you don't care. You don't see what happening after killing each other. You don't have any empathy. You have any feeling that killing each other. So this is such an example that once you have a lack of moral ethics, then it comes. All this killing each other, bullying each other, it comes from lack of moral ethics. And then such as there are a lot. You can think that all this trouble from a small group of family to entire world, every single problem, most of them comes from lack of self-discipline. So therefore, lack of moral ethics. Therefore, moral ethics is important in general and important for cultivating compassion. So this is the one of the important part. Even we are not trying to cultivate compassion, as well as you are keeping your vows are well day by day, or you are restraining your all these negative actions, or in the short form I say, if you try to practice your moral ethics as much as much as you can, that's a lot of help, right? So it's a lot of help to self and other, even not generate compassion, right? So on top of that, if generate compassion, will become a more stronger and having more strength for benefiting to others. Therefore, its moral ethics is very much necessary, especially today's world, and that should begin from ourselves. Should begin from should begin from myself. That moral ethics, right? It's not, instead of try to teach them, instead of try to train them, or who have instead of having prostrated or anger, that who are lack of moral ethics. So better engage your own practice, the fuss, right? So that's the beginning. The compassion begin from here. Moral ethics should begin from here. Every practice should begin from yourself. So therefore, as you know that how much important to have like a moral ethics, especially to this world, and then if you see that, then we must begin from ourselves to training and practice moral ethics. This is the part that why we need moral ethics, and you might have a more reason for that. Okay, and then again, what is moral ethics? That's what we need to talk today. But it sometimes help if you see what is not the moral ethics. Because sometimes any rule and regulations, we think it's moral ethics, then it's confuse us. So we have to make separated the moral ethic, which Tibetan we call sultum, in Sanskrit called shila. Shila in Tibetan, sultum. That moral ethics I'm talking here. And then if we know that, which is not the sultum, which is not the shila, then it's a lot to help us to not have confused, or exactly we can engage exactly the Shila or Sultan practice. Okay, so make sure that I'm using the Tibetan word and Sanskrit word, not confused by translation, that moral ethics. So so one thing's, we have a lot of things to do by culturally. Culturally, we so many things doing it, like um, such as like a marriage or celebrating many, like celebrating birthdays and so on and so on. The culturally we're doing those, or we doing so many things our habitually. Is those are moral ethics or not? Then I will say these are not the moral ethics, right? So you understand, right? The culture that all this culture has their different activities, different celebrations, uh, um, and then yeah, those different activities and different celebrations, we think is necessary to do it in our life. When we think that it confuses us, it could be moral ethics. So that's, therefore I'm just clarifying those are not the moral ethics, right? This is just comes by um, society, or just made it by some big groups, all the culture and the habits are, right? Tradition, culture and traditions are. But one thing I can say, respecting culture and tradition is moral ethics. But the tradition and culture itself is not necessarily moral ethics, right? I'm using here the word that not necessary because I cannot count all these culture and traditions. But what I remember, those culture and tradition, each countries, most of them is not the moral ethics, but respecting for is moral ethics. But others are choice. Celebrating a birthday, it's your choice. If you're not doing it, it not really harms. If you're doing it, I don't know how much you will get benefit. So regarding that point, that reason, then I'm saying those are not the moral ethics, the culture and tradition. That's so many things we're doing it. And there are the rule and regulations. I can divide into three, right? So the 100% negative rule and regulation, and negative and positive mix rule and regulations, and 100% positive rule and regulations. So negative rule and regulations are not moral ethics, such as how to kill. We are training how to kill enemies, right? How to kill animal as well. So and they have like they have some kind of rule and regulations. So like an army, they do have a rule and regulations. And then the hunter, they do have a rule and regulations. Those rule or regulations, I can say, is not the sultrim, not the shila. As translated in English, is not the moral ethics, right? So this is, which is the 100% negative rule and regulation. And then rule and regulation here has a mix. in Tibetan word we say karna dema. Karna dema. Karna means white and dark, white and black mixing. What this means negative and positive. Has the both the rule and regulation has both negative and positive. Those are not necessary. It's moral ethics. Give example here, the government rule. The government rule and regulation. It's kind of like a mixing, isn't that? Both has a negative and positive. So I'm not rejecting every single rule and regulation is not the moral ethic, but there are many of them is not the moral ethics, not the sutum, not the shila, right? For example, I can take example here. The last few years we have a COVID, and everyone need to take vaccinations. That's government rule, and that's government rule. It's following this government rule, how much help? Not following this government rule, how much harms? Right? So many people not have the vaccinations, but still not harms. So that's okay. You might be not clear on it. So on the other hand, we can say, okay, you have to have insurance, right? In our like a life insurance, house insurance, car insurance, whatever we need to insurance. So this is one of the government rule. And not having insurance, is there any harms? If harms, at least harms to self. Is harms to other or not? If as well as not harms to other, then I can say this is yes rule, which we need to respect, but it's not moral ethics, not the shila or not the sutam. Right? It's all those rule and regulation made it for temporarily or made it by some group and remaining as a temporarily. Those are, we are not counting as the shila, sultum, as moral contact, moral ethics, right? So those are not the moral ethics. And we can take a few minute discussion on it after that. So then other things I can say, that you are restraining all these negative actions. Try to be more, take the positive action with fear for rule, with fear for losing job, with fear for your reputation. Those are not sultum, not the moral ethics, not shila. Even you are not killing, even you are not lying, not counted this moral ethics, because the motivation is fear for your own benefit or fear for you concerning about yourself, right? So there's fear for your reputation, losing reputation, losing job, or these are things. These are the not the moral ethics. And then also you are try to restrain all these negative actions and try to be a more take a positive action because you're greedy, the mind greedy, right? Say, okay, if I be nice, if I do be more nice, then it will be I will get a more like a what the word say, Um, my the my high my ranks goes high. What they have some word there. Um,
Promotion?
Position.
Promotion?
Promotion. Yeah, thank you. Yes, you're having promotion because doing this, right? That motivation, or you being nice to other because you want to good grade, and then good mark sheet, and you need a good reputation letter. So also on so on. Those are, even you try, those are not counted moral ethics because it's only pretending it. That with all those you doing, it's pretending. It's not natural. With fear or greedy, whatever your action, taking action positive, it's a pretending. You only do in front of that person who you really something fear or expecting. Or behind, you don't do that. You're not doing it. Therefore, it's not counted moral ethics by motivation or by action, by even the actions, right? So because it's pretending it. Okay. So so far, yeah, I can say those are the not the moral ethics, not Shila or not. Let me repeat it again in a brief. Say um, your something that we need to do by culture and tradition. Those are not, and something that have a the totally negative rule and regulation. Those are not moral ethics, and something that rule and regulation mix with the both positive and negative is not necessary. Everything's are moral ethics. Then your behavior being nice or restraining something negative with motivation, um, the fear or greedy, both are not the moral ethics. Even action is same. Action exactly same. Who will keep the moral ethics? Same. They let's say, oh, I'm not killing, I'm not lying, or like I will not use the harsh word, or I'm not using the divisive speech, and so on and so on. So those you taking action, which is good, but the motivations not counted for moral ethics because the motivation is fear or greedy. Again, the reason why those are not the moral ethics, even you are trying to do something nice, because it's pretending it. Once you reach your goal, what you're expecting it, once you free from the fear, then you will not do that, because the motivation is very temporarily, and motivation can end very easily. Once free from fear, then no need to do that. Once you reach the goal, no need to do that. That you feel it because you're doing for it. And then again, it's pretending only you taking these actions in front of the people who you want it, but behind not doing that. It's not called moral ethics. Moral ethics means either you front of people or behind the people. You alone or you with the society. You should keep every day same action. That we counted moral ethics, right? So therefore, these are the not moral ethics. Okay. So we can take 5 minutes to talk on it. Any you have any suggestion and any yeah.
So you said you undertake action due to fear. It is not moral ethics. What about if you are like maintaining vows, etc., because like you have a motivation to not fall to the lower realms, or you want your next life to be better. You are afraid of these things.
Okay, that's very good question. That's very good question. I have to clarify that. So maybe all of you might hear the Chappelle's question. Do you hear that? Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very good question. I mean that fear means this lifetime. I'm talking this lifetime, right? So if you fear for like taking the lower realms and future, then you keep the moral ethics. That's it's counted. Uh, because why this is counted? Because it's connected with sincere vows, which just means like what is the cause of freeing from lower realms is the cause of taking rebirth high realms. Once you have a cause of taking rebirth higher realms, then you will not go the lower realms. What are the taking rebirth in higher realms and exactly 10 virtues actions on, and then those vows are. Those vows and 10 virtues actions are you keeping these 10 virtues actions, nothing to do with the temporarily. You sincerely doing it whole the a lifetime, whether in front of people or not in front of people, whether you're with someone or you're without someone, you're doing it because your goal is next life. Then it's counted as moral ethics. What I mentioned, the fear is this lifetime. Like I say, last time I mentioned one of our Sunday class, we stopped to red light. If not stop red light, you will get bill. There's a fear. So your only reason that police might caught me or like I might get a huge number of ticket bill. So then you fear for that, then you stop the light. This is not the moral ethics. So and then because if there are no police, you will run then, right? So if there are no camera, you will run. If it is really sincerely thinking that I cannot cross, this is the government rule and regulation respecting it. And if I cross, I might hit someone and kill it. Then you will not concerning it whether they are police or not, whether the camera or not. You will stop, right? But if you only the fear the police and big number of bill, then is there no camera, no police, you will run. You will cross the red light. So therefore, it's not counted the moral ethics. Okay. So any other question for that?
You know what? I have a question because of Chappelle's question.
Okay.
It's about the future life. If people, I think that generosity is a cause of future life having, more prosperous, more wealth in future life, right? So if someone's could still practice something for a future life with a wrong motivation or no?
We usually say it's not the wrong motivation, the weak motivation that we can say that it's a weak motivation, but not the wrong motivation.
Okay.
Because why is not wrong motivation? We are now talking Buddhism. It will have result. Therefore, it's not wrong motivation. They're saying.
I see.
Yeah, the result will positive, right? They're saying if the rebirth in high realms or so on.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So, and then you can think by yourself, which is not really moral ethics. I give some example here. Those are not moral ethics, and then not confuse between any rule and regulation and actual shila or moral ethics, right? Sometimes we might feel that most of rule and regulation is kind of like a punishing me, right? But moral ethics, if you separate it between these two, like a general rule and regulation and moral ethics, you will not feel same that what you have feel is punishing me. That the moral ethics, you will not feel that punishing to you. You feel that it's necessity, right? Because otherwise there are many rule and regulation we feel it's just punishing it. It's punishing, right? So it's important. It's very important to separate it: general rule and regulation and moral ethics. And then I've give a few examples, and you can also try to find more based on what we giving definition for moral ethics. Is something suitable with the definition, then it's counted. Something not suitable with the definition is not counted. And of course, any pretendings are 100% not the moral ethics. Pretending are not the moral ethics, right? So the pretending will do only fun, not do sincerely, right? So it's make sure I can confidently say all these pretending actions are not the moral ethics. Even it's not following the rule and regulation of any government or society, right? Even not following that. So therefore, it's not the moral ethic. Just be more aware with this, be more think on it, and then it will be very help you to not feel that when I engage moral ethics, that I kind of like I'm in a prison, right? So it's because you enthusiastically, you with the joyful effort, you will keep it because you think it is necessary. Therefore, it's important to make separate. Therefore, find it out which are not the moral ethics, Shila or Tsudim, right? Okay. Any question on it before I move to next?
I have a question.
Okay, please.
So if we were to use the example of, say, car insurance, so it feels like a something you don't want to pay, right? It's expensive, or sometimes you have more money and it's okay, it's not so bad, but sometimes maybe you don't have so much money. The point of insurance, though, is to have if something happens, say you damage somebody else's car and having an accident, or you hurt someone, there's money to pay them, to help them pay for their medical or things like that, or it's to help you to replace any damage to your own car. So it's actually, there's a benefit to it, but you see what I mean? Is it more of like, how do I want to say? Is it more because of the way you look at it that makes it an ethical discipline when you pay, or is it? Does it have to do with the law or the regulation itself that makes it a moral, ethical?
Okay, at that point, I see if you follow more moral ethic will be the better. You will not sneaking it. You will not deceive. You will not deceive for that. You will not sneaking, right? Just escaping the rule, sneaking around it. So instead of rule and regulation, it comes both. If you like a more good with the moral ethics, it included also rule and regulation there more clearly, or like a better way, right? This is you asking?
I guess I'm trying to understand the distinction between a law that requires you to do something. If I know that there's some that are mixed, right? But I guess what I'm asking is, is the definition of something that's a moral ethic, is it in how you think about it? You know, is it the perspective that you bring to it that determines whether or not it's ethical, a moral
Okay.
ethic?
Okay, then why not we continue to talk what is moral ethic? Then it might be found your answer from there,
Okay.
right? Okay. So, and then yeah, now we think and discussion and reflected on what are the not moral ethic, and now what is moral ethic, and the definition of moral ethics was given by Buddhism. Is said the mindset on abandoning the undisciplined conduct of body, speech, and mind. Okay, so I get it from Lamrim translation. Let me read again. A mindset on abandoning the undisciplined contact of body, speech, and mind. And it's too broad, like too big, like too open to say it. We can more narrow down after that. But this is in general, we're giving definition of moral ethics.
Geshe, there's one word I didn't understand. It said mindset on abandoning blank.
Or
Contact.
undisciplined.
Undisciplined. Thank you.
Yeah. Undisciplined conduct of body and speech, mind. Right. So this is generally giving definition of moral ethics. So, and then I think the moral ethics is more should concerning not harms to self and other. Actually, it is kind of actions are more physical actions, but it's a mindset. Mindset means like needed that sungwe semba, that that you needed that mind that I cannot say control. Okay, so if you do not understand, please let me know. I'll try to use my English. So that what it's saying is that mind, which is focusing or attention to restraining those negative actions, right? The mind which keep thinking, restraining negative actions, sungwe semba, or developing virtues, right? The sungwa means, it's actually translated in English, it's a protected, protect, I don't know, it's a protect, sungwe semba or sungdögi semba. What we'll call keep vows. Yeah, I give you an example. With that the mindset that mind need to always think that I can do that, or I have to do this. Two kind of things, right? I can do that, or I have to do this. Both are sungwe semba, which is, let's say, which we have a vows. We always considering, oh, I have a vows, therefore I should keep my vows. I cannot do that. What is called? What do you call that mind? So, sorry?
Restraint, a mind with restraint, like you restrain yourself from doing negative things that are against your vows.
Restraint is one part of the morality, moral ethics. Also, we have a virtues, moral ethical virtues, which is need to be developed, engage it, right? That's also refers with it. So Sung Samba would go with the both. Sung Samba is kind of mind which protecting it. The protecting it. Mind which okay.
I think it makes sense when you say protecting.
Protecting it?
Yeah, I don't see any misinterpretation.
Okay, then I will use then mind which is protecting that things you shouldn't do it. Mind which is protecting which things you should do it. So those mindset is actual moral ethics. You know, last time we talked, the compassion action is not the compassion, which I mentioned it, right? Same way here, the restraining actions are not the actual moral ethics. Moral ethics is actually a mental state, mindset, which is having those thinking or protecting it. The mind which is thinking, protecting. So as well as you have this, then all the action will be control it. Which things you need to control, which things you need to engage. You will do that, right? If you do not have that mindset, that mind, then you will not have, you can engage the those moral ethics properly, right? So if you have that kind of mind, it's more going with the motivation, right? That the motivations, the mindset, which is kind of like a motivation that I have to protect it. The mind which thinking protecting it. So this is the actual moral ethic. Moral ethic is mindset. It's mind. It's mental state.
So the thing that's being protected is like the concept, the idea of like doing the right or wrong thing, guarding against the thing that is doing the wrong thing, and like guarding the idea of continuing to do the thing that's.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this is not how things. So okay, can you say a little bit loudly?
the mind which is intent on guarding against doing things that would be considered the wrong thing, and the mind which is intent on guarding or preserving like the idea of doing the thing that is the right thing, the proper thing.
If you learn well about the sixth perfection, then you will know that all the sixth perfection is connected with the physical actions and here and there, but all are the mindset, right? Same way here, Shila, Sultum, perfection of morality is mindset. Same way here, morality, which we describe, it's mindset. That mindset, which is abandoning, this is one kind of, it's not describe all this Sultum. It's one part of Sultum. One part of Sultum is describing, say, abandoning, right? Otherwise, we have to say the mindset, which abandoning negative actions and which are engaging virtuous actions. Those both are counted as moral ethic.
Geshe, can you, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Please go ahead, please.
No, I was just going to ask you to talk about the reason why there is this distinction between the mindset and the action, and does it have to do with the, if you take the example of love your enemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in many cultures that would be considered impossible. It's a nice idea, right? But it's impossible, right, to do that. All right. So is it because the idea is that the mind it's possible to control, right? So that you can actually, say that love your enemies is a valid, and is possible, right? It's but it has to be first understood as this this mindset that has practiced it, right? Because it's not intuitively obvious. If your culture teaches kill your enemies, or hurt your, or get rid of your enemies, whatever. I mean, so can you just discuss that as really kind of to complete the thought of that compassion is actually possible, universal compassion.
Uh-huh.
Does that make sense? Do you understand what I'm asking?
I'm not really understand clear. It's too long. It's too long for me. Which I try to talking here, right? Which I try to talk here is I will talk again how it's necessary for cultivating compassion. But first, let me finish that what is the definition of moral ethics regarding Buddhism, or they might have a different definition of moral ethics, right? So the regarding Buddhism, I would say moral ethics definition is as same mindset, which is abandoning negative actions and engaging the both like engaging positive actions or virtuous actions. That's we said the definition of moral ethics. Okay.
So would you say that positive and negative here are understood or defined in terms of compassion, the concept of compassion?
No, negative means like you shouldn't kill, you shouldn't lie, and so on and so on. You restrain those.
Okay.
Positive means you meditate and cultivate compassion and be kind to others and be a patient, and then those kind of quality developing are the positive. Yeah, those kind of thing. Yeah. Okay. Falian, you have a question?
Yeah, I had a quick question about the six perfections.
Oh,
How would one go about cultivating those? Is it just through meditation and like having moral ethics that then they will come kind of naturally with kind of keeping the idea of universal compassion and love in mind? Or is it something that you have to constantly keep the six perfections in your mind at all times so that they come to fruition?
yeah, why not that I can answer this question while I'm talking the three division of morality. One of the morality we talk how to develop the virtues. At the time, I will answer for that. Please remind me if I'm not remember it. So, okay, this is the we're just giving us definition of moral ethics. Please, you more think on it. And again, I'm just briefly, repeatedly saying here, it's a mindset which is having thought of abandoning negative actions and having thoughts of engaging virtues. Both are cannot have the same time, those thoughts, right? But those are both are counted as a moral ethic. Engaging, right? Engaging, what we say here, yeah, the ethics of virtue, that means you are engaging those the virtuous actions, positive actions, and abandoning or restrain the negative actions. So again, this is the mindset. Again, I'm trying to say those two thoughts, which is restraining negative actions, which is cultivating or developing virtuous action, cannot come together, those thoughts. It comes one by one. When you think restraining at the moment, that mind will not there, which engaging it. When you think engaging it, at that moment, that mind will be not there, restraining it. But the both are counted as moral ethic. This is the mind. And based on that, whatever you take actions, right? All this becoming moral ethics. The actual moral ethics is the mindset, and what comes actions from that we call discipline, right? So, okay, that is the clear, right? Definition of moral ethics. Okay. So, and then give you some example that the moral ethics, as I said, very necessary in general and special for cultivating compassion, because we talk the moral ethics is Nagarjuna's text and many Buddha's texts says that moral ethics is like a ground. The ground hold everything without any judgmental. Ground hold heavy things, light things. Someone dig to ground, someone painting to ground, whatever comes that okay. Let me say, or the other way. Okay, the grounds hold everything, right? So same way, the moral ethics the hold or support it to have all these good qualities, right? So therefore, it says moral ethics is like a ground. And some masters are saying moral ethics is like a the cloth, right? The cloth. So and how much you have a comfortable cloth, that much you will more happier, relaxing. Same way, how much you engage moral ethics, that much you will be happier. So therefore, it says moral ethics like a clothes, moral ethics like a ground. Say, and then again, therefore, before the cultivating compassion means you are trying to have this mind which is concerning to others to free from suffering, right? Which is thinking other beings free from suffering. So, and before you do that, so it must depend on how much you are. It's not just how much you are kindness or how much you are gentleness. It's more that how much you engage thus moral ethics, how much you have a self-discipline, right? So this is depend on it. If you have a good self-discipline, and in general, you will always mindfulness on it that which you cannot do it. You always mindfulness on it that which you have to do it. If you continues having mindfulness on that, need to be restrained and needs to be engaged, then that mind, that controlling it will make you more the mind, give you more energy or strength to your mind to change while you're doing that, right? So that energy and strength will support it you to cultivate compassion, because cultivating compassion is not that simple, not that easy, but don't forget it is possible, right? So so therefore the moral ethics is important for that. And so restraining, right? Restraining is you are just on the other hand, say restraining negative action means you are that try to control that which harms to other, right? Moral ethic, another way to say, I already give the definition, remember it. And another way to say, which things harm to others temporarily, nothing is more, which things harms to other more long terms. It's what called not the moral ethics, which not harms, instead of harming, bringing benefit long terms. That's also moral ethics. So then exactly compassion does that. Compassion is try to not harm people temporarily or long-term benefit, right? So it's more focus should be more focused on long-term benefit. So long-term, not harmful long-terms. So that kind of what call then you are restraining your negative action, and day by day will support it you to your compassion mind, that which you should do, not harms to others. And compassion itself is virtuous. It needs a lot of things, a lot of tools to developing compassion, such as a patience, you need it. Forgiveness, you need it. Engaging forgiveness, engaging patience, which is necessary for developing compassion and cultivating compassion. Those are virtues. And those are also counted as moral ethics, which is ethics of virtues. For the cultivating compassion. So therefore, cultivating compassion, that you need two things, right? So all this obstacle, you should remove it, and all these necessary tools, you should build it up. Those are moral ethics. Which obstacle you're removing is we call the ethics of restraining, and those things you are developing tools which necessary for cultivating compassions are ethics of virtues, right? Therefore, you see that ethics of virtues and ethics of restraining, how much necessary for developing compassion and cultivating compassion. So is this clear? Okay. Now I talked what are and what is not. Now we should talk how engage the compassion. How engage the moral ethics in our daily life. So first things, I will give you a few fundamental bases for the engaging moral ethics in our daily life. The fundamental basics, one is important, is your environments should have more positive, right? You understand that your environment, what does mean here? Environment positive means you spend your time spent with a friend that which talks more positive and virtues. Which friends has a less negative thoughts and less negative actions. So that kind of things talking here, be your friend, whoever you are with the company or friends. If you have any choice for that, you always choose that the positive one, the kindness one, or which that is the one fundamental basis for engaging our moral ethics. It's until you become stronger. Once you become stronger, then not really rely on that nice environment. Not necessarily always rely on the positive environment. The way beginning, we must rely on a positive environment. As I said, be a friend with the positive people. Always spend time with that be kindness people. That very much support you. That makes if you make environment better, that much you can develop your positive thoughts, right? Until you get more stronger. So that is one thing. And then another the moral a necessary fundamental basics is your intelligence. Another way to say analytical mind. Your analytical mind is so important. So if you not use analytical mind, if you not think every actions, you will not see what is right and wrong, right? If you cannot see which is right and wrong, then you cannot have a moral ethics. You cannot engage morality practice perfectly. because you don't notice that right and wrong. And sometimes you do what is wrong things, negative things, and sometimes you do what not doing the positive things, right? So this is your analytical mind. Thinking is like a very big help here, as I think I can say the essence of fundamental basis of moral ethics, right? So people usually not thinking that much, and people have the tough time or some kind of difficult time or some kind of like a they think large sometime, not the or every day. People who think every day, they always found the solution at the moment. For very simple example, okay, the dishwashers doing by hand. If people think they will use less water, they will orderly first and second, what need to be first, what need to second, they will exactly clean it based on what you put it here, right? so like say the dry, what do you do, it's what called dry rack.
You put the
Put it
dry, drying rack.
Drying rack, okay. So if you have a drying rack has a limited and small, then if you put the big things first, you will have a difficult to put the small things. If you think small things is first, then you can go big things top of that. If you think, this is very simple, and if you think, you will find that. If you not think, you might do a lot of wasting water, and then also while you put in the well rack, you might put the first big one, and you will not find the place which you put the small things. It's really like because we're not thinking it. So if you think, then you will find perfectly. Same way when you cooked it. If you think, you will add the exactly salt, which is, then you will add the exactly sugar when you cook the tea. It is moral actually, right? So moral is the moral ethic is discipline. Discipline is not necessarily always goes with some kind of big things. Even the cook, dishwashers, every single things need a morality, discipline. It's very much depend on thinking. If you think your discipline will be perfect, you will add exactly the water how much needed. You will add exactly salt how much you need it, and spices as well. Then food turns the delicious, right? If you not think, then your food will be the mess up then, right? This is, this you can see the thinking is how much supported to the set discipline. That's the target, and the analytical mind is the fundamental, essence of fundamental of all this moral ethics, all this discipline. How much you think, your discipline will be the better. If you not think, your discipline will be the mess up. So therefore, this is the one very much necessary basic fundamental, okay? You need it. And what other things you need it for fundamental basis for engaging moral ethics is satisfaction mind. Satisfaction mind is a lot of help. But it's not as like an analytical mind help, right? Analytical mind help more than it, but satisfaction mind also help it, and reducing less self-centeredness, like the less self-centeredness. Those are the fundamental basis of having perfect or properly engaging moral ethics.
When you say satisfaction mind, do you mean a mind that is pleased by what you are doing?
Yeah.
I couldn't hear
So
Chappelle. Can he repeat what he said?
I said by satisfaction mind, do you mean a mind which is pleased by what you are doing?
Okay, thank you.
okay. So these are the one necessary or what called the prerequisite tools for engaging moral ethics. Again, if you have those perfectly, and your moral ethics will be the more trained in the better and properly. If you're not, then you will not engage your moral ethics properly. Okay, let me count it number. Just say first, I can say be a friend with a nice and positive until you become strong. And most important, need an analytical mind. You think every time, and then be a satisfactions, have a satisfactions, and less self-centeredness. Those four will help you to your moral ethics better, and then develop further. And next, I can talk the intention. Which I talks about which is not the moral ethics. Many of them depend on intention. Therefore, what intention should we have? What intention we should have it for engaging moral ethics? So I can say the intentions that which not harms to beings, right? Or intention which is bringing benefit to beings. Cultivating compassion will bring more benefit to others. Restraining all those negative actions will not harm to others, right? So therefore, intention, at least you should think not harms to being or bringing benefit to being. Instead of having fears, instead of having greedy, right? Instead of just nothing to think. So it's most have to have intentions. And intentions goes with other beings, self and other beings do not harms, and which is developed or which is benefited. The both need it. Once you engage in the ethics of restraint, you at least concerning that not harms to other. Once you have intention that if I take this action will harms to other, if you concerning on it, then you will not take. So that action you will do always, whether there are policemen are there, whether are punishment are there, punishments or not, whether they are having more money or not, or more reputation or not, or you always do it. Because sentient beings suffering is always remaining. If you concerning other sentient beings suffering and try not harms them, that's your morality will be always goes with the properly. And then sentient beings need to free from suffering. Therefore, you are concerning bringing benefit to other beings. That's kind of intentions will lead your morality properly and perfectly, right? So this is the intention. Okay, so the basic fundamental and intention for engaging moral ethics. So now say how I need to engage moral ethics. And then at the top of that, then if you keep think to benefit of engaging moral ethics and fault of not engaging moral ethics, if you keep think, that will makes you, it's more encourage you to do that. It's you shows you that more necessary to do that. So therefore, it's a lot of help. Keep thinking that benefit of engaging moral ethics and fault of not engaging it. but always need joyful effort is present, right? But if you do not have a joyful effort, then first you have to walk back to develop the joyful effort. And then again, this is the one things help you to have a joyful effort, to thinking benefit and faults of engaging moral ethics and not. Will brings you joyful effort, will brings you interesting, will brings you enthusiastic. That makes you joyful effort, right? So this is important part. And then okay. Okay. So this is the day by day, and always mindful. More important to mindful where you are now, when you are with others, because this conduct, the physical conduct, most taking action once you with others. But it's also important. Is there something moral ethics, whether people knows or not knows, right? Whether people in front of you or not, you always think that I can kill, I can lie, and such and so on, so on, so on, right? This is the moral ethics. As I said, the moral ethics and pretending is big difference. Pretending is definitely not moral ethics, and doing action, good action with the fear is not moral ethics, and doing a good action with the greedy is not the moral ethics. Once you reflecting on these three, think again, then it will help you to how you engage your moral ethics better. It shows that you shouldn't pretend it. Sincerely do that. And then you shouldn't do with some kind of temporary reason. You always should have a reason with the benefiting self and others. Those is the main reason. So even we're saying here moral ethics, self-discipline, sultim or shila, but another way I can say natural discipline, natural we say natural vows, right? It's a natural discipline. So which is not created and made by some kind of group, and which is not temporarily. If you do this, you will get benefit. If you not do this, you will have harms. That's natural. Based on that, if you take this moral ethics, all this, you are dealing with the natural. You are not dealing with the government rule. You're not dealing with your family rule or wherever. You're dealing with the natural rule. It's more, moral ethics means more natural rule. Okay, so, and then whether you accept or not accept, killing is always harms other, right? This is natural. And lying is harms other. And let's see, I don't accept the white lying, okay? Lying is lying. So it's harms other, whether direct or indirectly. So, and then, okay, I already mentioned that I have to clarify that. So lying is harms other means if you have no choice, that then the quiet is the best. You are not lying, you are not telling, right? So therefore, not necessary to say everything truth to people. This is too different. Lie to people and not telling them truth, right? So I think it's slightly different between this. Not telling them truth is just you are silent. Not telling them truth means not necessary that you should lie. Your silence is not telling them truth, but at least you are not lying it. That's not harms. So otherwise, lying harms. It's natural. Those are natural. Therefore, if you know that, if you more notice that, then it is you will engage those in your daily life. Yes, and again, those are the fundamental of your own happiness. Okay. So, and then finally, I can say, yeah, this is I'm just done. How to engage your moral ethics from beginning and then go further, right? So that's why I cover it, and I can brief it. What I mentioning it, need a joyful effort for engaging moral ethics. The developing joyful effort will help you to, if you think the fault of not having moral ethics and benefit of having moral ethics, if you have think again and again daily, that brings you joyful effort. Once you have a joyful effort, and then don't forget that the four fundamental bases and intentions, and those based on that, and you try to act it, whether it's restraining or developing, right? Okay. And the devotion of moral ethics is sometime 4, sometime 3. Say the ethics of restraint and ethics of virtues, ethics of compassion, and the ethics of discernment. So this, the first 3, like ethics of restraint, ethics of virtues, ethics of compassion, it's like that. If I give example with a seed, which can grow the fruit, you try to keep seeds perfectly, not burn it, not ruin it, not lost it. This is the self, is similar as like a self of restraining. Self of restraining is all your good qualities are you keeping it, which is disturbing for it. You are keeping you are like a abandoning it, right? Same way that you seed, the seed. If you need the seed, you have seed that which can grow the fruit. Keeping that seed, protecting from all this obstacle. Those are similar as a restraining, ethics of restraining. And then you put the seed in the ground, and then pouring water is an ethics of developing virtues. And then finally you get the fruit. It's an ethics of compassion. Those you can take as this example, right? So maybe it might help you to understand these 3 different ethics, right? So what time is it? 30. Okay. So now here, the ethics of restraining, there are so many things we have to restrain. All these negative things, negative action we should restrain. Either it's physical, refers to the physical, or it refers to the mind. All we should restraining it. But so far we count either 10 virtues or abandoning 10 non-virtues, right? So if you know the 10 non-virtues, it's abandoning it. If you know the 10 virtues, engaging it. So this is just abandoning 10 non-virtues and engaging 10 virtues is exactly the same. They're not different. Those are we call restraining, the ethics of restraining, right? And then most of you know the 10 non-virtues. So 10 non-virtues is give us easy to remember what we should restraining, but they have more again. So, but at least if you know the 10 non-virtues, which is a lot of help. So 10 non-virtues, which is 3 are refers with the body, and 4 refers with the verbal, and 3 refers with the mind. What are the 3 refers with the body is killing, stealing, or sexual misconduct. These three are refers to the body. These are the negative action which you need to restrain it. And most important that we need more mindfulness and attention for verbal. This is the most troublemaker. Our talking is most the troublemaker. So focus on it. So the 4 negative action, which is refers with the verbal, is lying, using harsh word, and gossiping, idle gossip, and divisive speech. Actually, I request you and suggest you learn more this 4. It's just simply saying divisive speech. We will not really clear on it. So we do a lot of divisive speech, which we never notice that. We only notice lie or not lie. That's we know. We use harsh word or not harsh word. That's we know. Sometimes it's still in the harsh word. We need to learn more. And idle gossip, we don't know. We never notice that I'm doing idle gossip. We never notice that I'm speaking divisive speech. Therefore, it's just counting here, but it's important to learn more deeper, this 4, which is refers with the verbal, and which is most need to intention, is because it comes constantly in our daily life. Killing, that's we take careful. Stealing, really we careful. Which we think we are not careful. 4 verbal actions, we are not really careful on it. Right? The 3 body, at least we are, in generally I can see, I assume that we are carrying that, careful on it. 3 bodies, negative action. But the 4 verbal negative action, we don't carry it. We do a lot in our daily life. So therefore, better understand deep and then apply it in our daily life. And then 3 refers to the mind, is harmful intention and covetousness, and then wrong view. Wrong view, you always found in Buddhism that say you are blaming, you are not believe karma, you are not taking refuge. This is example. This is not the only wrong view. This is example for Buddhist people, right? But the wrong view for in general, you're viewing something is impermanent, you're viewing as permanent. That's wrong view, right? Your something is inherently lack of inherent existence, but you're viewing as independently exists. And there's so many reality there which we not sees, and we are thinking opposite of reality. All those are wrong view. Okay, so simple. In general, person is very nice and kind, but his face is serious. By judging by face, saying the bad person, that's wrong view. Because it just judge by their face serious, right? Not really sees all these actions and all this mind, kind mind. So that's wrong view. But the reality is kind person, but judging by face, that goes wrong. That's wrong view. So wrong view is you all those again. Wrong view means any reality there is reality, but you are seeing as opposite one, or you are viewing as opposite one. All are wrong view. Okay, so not necessarily just take Buddhist example for us. Okay, those are the wrong view. And this is 10 non-virtue we should restraining it. And ethics of virtues, again, there are a lot of things there. I can take as the 6 perfections as an example. Ethics of virtue, you just engage the generosity practice, and then patience, and then concentrations, develop concentration or generate concentrations, and then morality as well, and then all this, the wisdom, which is analytical mind, you developing or you are try to have those qualities through by practice, either the actions or motivations. Through by practice to having those quality is you are actually engaging the one of the morality which called morality of virtues, and those are necessary for developing compassion, cultivating compassion. Definitely you need a patient for developing compassion. Without patience, very difficult, right? Without patience, it's almost nothing there, compassion. So necessarily need a patience. This is developing patience is the ethics of virtues. That ethics you need it for cultivating compassion. So for that, could please, Fallon, could you remind me what you are exactly question there? 6 perfections are, you say mine or what?
I was more wondering, will the 6 perfections, do those just come from having ethics of restraint, or is that something that we have to constantly keep in mind?
Oh,
To do-
okay. This, I can say these two is separate. Restraining and developing virtues, two separate. The two things separate, therefore we need two different actions. We need two different practice. Just restraining is not comes to you the patience. Just restraining, not lying is not comes to you like a morality or not comes to you constitutions. Develop, you have to separate time and separate energy for developing constitution and morality and such and such. So these two is completely different. Therefore, we need the two different practice for that. So one practice will not cover others. So therefore, it's two different. Yes. So and then the ethics of compassion. This ethics of compassion, actually, I do have almost like a 70 or 80 list that how we can help to other benefit, help to other sentient being. But in generally, in our text, Buddhism, we count it like 11 activities to how to benefit or how to help to others beings. So engaging those are counted as an ethics of compassion. But if we more split it, those 11 will become a 80 or 70, the list, which I will send you. And then you can, time by time, you can like, okay, today I will follow this action. Tomorrow I will follow these actions, right? So I will send you that. So those are, engaging those are the ethics of compassion. And then adding here additional, the ethics of discernment. Ethics of discernment is, it's your analytical mind. You need a more, whatever you're engaging, whatever you are thinking, it's more, you need to be more unbiased. You have to have unbiased mind. Based on unbiased mind, you use your analytical mind. You think, then it will all to help. And actually, if you have a last one, will help you to those above ethics makes better, right? Unbiasedly having analytical mind. That is the ethics of discernment that we call it. So okay, so then almost the time out there, and then I can summary today what I talked at the beginning, why we need moral ethics to engage, and what are not the moral ethics, and what is the definition of ethics, and give best followed by give some example, and then what is the fundamental basis of ethics, and what are the motivation necessary for ethics, moral ethics, engaging moral ethics, and then how to we engage, how we begin or engage moral ethics, and then how many different type of moral ethics there. This is we talk today. Okay. So next class is called difficulty project of difficulty, which just mean from today. So you might see that yeah, difficult situation. Can you show that? Yeah, it's a difficult. Brainstorm on compassionate response to situation shared by a class member. Okay, you do that. You are try to be a compassionate with the special most difficult one. Okay, difficult one. Do that, and then so share to us how come how you feel, why you feel is difficult, and how you face with it with the compassion, and what result comes, what feeling gives you, what actually results comes in general, because react with the compassionate with the two difficulty people. Okay, so difficulty people could be inside of your home, could be outside of your home, or you can meet like a 10 difficulty people in within 2 weeks, or you can meet like a 3 difficulty people in 2 weeks, or you'll never meet the difficulty people. Whatever, if you like a 10 difficulty people you meet in your within 2 weeks, always reacts as a compassionate, and see what feeling gives to you and what results comes doing this. And all this you can share the 10 one by one. But we should
When
have,
you say share the 10 one by one, what do you mean by that?
means you have to share what happening, how you compassionate react in your difficulty. Then today I meet these people, difficulty, I did this. Tomorrow I meet these people, I did this. Day after I meet that kind of thing.
Okay, so the 10 is 10 days.
Okay, let me see.
Sorry. I am tired, so I'll preface that. Sorry.
What I'm trying to say it, the general, it's like a brainstorm on the compassionate response to the situation. That difficulty situation. The difficulty situation could be meet with the difficulty people, or difficulty situation could be anything. But the most I can request you to difficulty situation with the beings, with the other beings, not with the not things, okay? With the beings. But it could be you meet the 10 difficulty people within 2 weeks, or could be you meet the 1 difficulty people in your within 2 weeks, and how you should react with the compassionate and what result comes. Share everything. That's what I'm saying it.
And do you want us to come prepared to share it at the next class, or do you want us to write it down?
Share the next class.
Got it. Thank you.
Share the next class, and then we making limited time, okay? Because we have 23 people, and then 1.5 hours. Better make like each have a 10 minute is too. It should have a 5 minute. So each take 5 minutes to complete your difficulty situation or your project, okay? Maybe we should take each 5 minutes and then finish your project. This is just you just coming to class and sharing with us, and then I'm requesting you to like write me something that the previous one, which I'm mentioning, just try to cultivate, try to compassion action within your family or within your loved ones. So how you did it and what result comes. Please no more than 5 lines. I have a tough to read all.
Maybe 3 minutes is better. 100. There everybody takes 5 minutes, it's everybody, then it's almost a full 2 hours. So are we gonna have discussion and whatever?
I think it's okay. I mean, some might not have a 5 minute. Some might not have a 5 minute, but not more than 5 minutes. Less than 5 minutes is okay.
5 minute limit.
Yeah. So yeah. Okay. So next, like a journal. You understand the journal, right? Please write for me. Which like try to cultivate compassion sincerely, right? What we try to is once you love and compassion with your loved one, but as mentioned earlier, always up and down. But you shouldn't up and down. You try to stay at same level, love and compassion to your loved one. Do it, and then see what feeling and result comes. That's right for me. Please, again, I'm saying no more than 5 line because it's difficult for me to read all this. Then if necessary, I can comment, and not necessary, that's fine. And then while that reminding you, maybe every other day, I will send you at the morning some quotes. Gloria, please share me they're all emailed to me, okay? I will send you some quotes. It's just nice quotes, but it's just reminding you, be a kindness and compassion, okay? Okay, thank you so much.
Geshe, can I just summarize real quick?
Okay.
So we have two things. One, the next class, we should be prepared to talk about a difficult situation and what our response and the results and our feelings were. And then there's also in our journal to send to you no more than 5 lines, a compassion action that we did with a family or loved ones, and what we did, how we felt, and the results.
Okay.
Is that correct? And then
Yes,
you may
it is.
send some reading, and I will send you the email list for quotes.
Yeah, next, we don't have any to reading for it.
Got it. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
I have a question on this
Yes.
assignment. Geshe. So with the compassionate action with the loved ones, if it's an action of mind, maybe sometimes it's not necessarily a physical action, but an action of mind, is that something that you would include?
Oh yeah, that's good to clarify. I want to write me both mine and, because the action is very much depend on motivations, right? Mine. And then, but every day you are cultivating compassion at the morning, or while you're doing at the whole 24 hours with you, someone that how you should react, same how you motivate and how you cultivate. So I would just, for me, wants to know more about you resolve your reaction.
Is self-compassion also included in this?
Self-compassion not included in that.
Okay.
Compassion to other. Okay. Yeah. That's it, right? Okay. Thank you so much for being with me this semester, and we'll go do best. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Geshe.
Have a wonderful night, everyone. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.